Here we are for another courageous conversation, and I have the absolute pleasure of introducing you to a new friend. Although she apparently has known me for a while, I just got to meet her recently, and it's Ann Scott. Hi, Ann.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm good. Now, that accent's a giveaway. I don't think you're from the States.
No, definitely not. I'm from Northern Ireland, Belfast, Northern Ireland.
Oh, and you have that
So,
accent that I
yeah.
love, that I wish I had, and I can't. So, bummer.
No, I actually don't really like the accent. I think the Southern Ireland accent is nicer than the Belfast one.
Oh,
I think
well,
ours can be a bit harsh.
well, at least I can understand all the words. That's a
That's
good, well,
true.
most of them
Hmm.
anyway. I don't know that I'll get them all, but I'll do my best. So, Anne, you come from this from a really unique perspective. And
Hmm.
we're going to have a courageous conversation because you contacted and said, oh, after you heard someone else's conversation, which
Hmm.
was a ouch conversation,
Yeah.
where she had a family member who actually accused her of lying about having
Hmm.
dementia, which was like, why in the world would someone want to do that? That's ouch.
Hmm.
So, but that sort of brought it up for you to bring up your story because your story is a bit different,
Hmm.
but it's also just as painful in many ways. So, share a little bit about your background and how you got to this place where you raised your hand and said, "I have an experience a little bit different, different, significantly different, but I'd like to share it out because I think it might be helpful to others." So,
Well, many years ago, I'm 52 now, but whenever I was 46, I became very ill
okay.
and was dizzy all the time, feeling sick, started to collapse, and I was referred for an urgent brain scan. Went for the brain scan and was told that it would take a few weeks to get the results back. But the next day, I got an appointment to go and see the neurologist, and I knew if I get an appointment the very next day, that's bad news. Don't contact you that quickly. So I went to see the neurologist and he explained that I had cerebral vascular atherosclerosis.
Mm.
And then he said that he thought I might also have multiple sclerosis, but he didn't think so, but he wanted to do the test. And he booked me in for a lumbar puncture and blood tests. And then I was told that would take 6 weeks because they have to
Okay,
match all the
so
results up.
I'm going to pause this for a second because you used a lot of fancy words, and
Yeah.
those are
Hmm.
absolutely accurate words, but I've got a feeling a lot of our audience might not be as familiar with all the
Yeah.
words you use.
Hmm.
So what you're describing is you had on in the arteries that feed your brain.
Yeah.
These are the
Hmm.
arteries that give your brain oxygen, nourishment,
Hmm.
and then the veins associated with those arteries and the little capillaries that hook them together and take away the waste products and the CO2
Hmm.
inside the arteries, which are the feeding system. There were plaques building up, and
Yeah.
atherosclerosis means that inside was not healthy at all.
Hmm.
And it's at least very high risk for having strokes and having problems. And um, I'm wondering, did they say it looked like you already had some of that going on in your brain, or what did they?
Well, he went on to show me all the brain lesions on the MRI scan,
Okay,
and there
so
were all the
yeah,
white dots
lesions
all
mean,
over it.
yeah, things had happened already from where he was standing.
Yes, uh-huh.
It wasn't
And
just a
that's what was,
potential. Yeah.
no, the brain, my brain had lesions all over it. But then later on, I found out some of them were vascular lesions, but some of them were multiple sclerosis lesions. So I
Oh,
had
wow.
both lesions. And then a year after that, I was called back to neurology again, and they told me that I had fibromyalgia as well. So yeah, it was a
Oh,
very, very difficult time.
wow.
Hmm.
So MS, multiple sclerosis, is when you have these inflammation, irritation, and damage to the nerves, the nerve
Yeah.
fibers, which cause you, and it has flares. And do you know what type did he say that he thought you had, or the version that he thought?
He said that I had secondary progressive multiple sclerosis. So there's not really a lot that you can do for
No.
secondary progressive.
Wow.
But I'm lucky, actually. I can still walk
And then
and
fibromyalgia on
go on.
top of that.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
fibromyalgia is this, it's pain, and
Yeah.
it's along the
Mm-hmm.
nerve roots, and it's
Mm-hmm.
intense. It can be burning, it can be stabbing, and it comes in waves
Yeah.
sometimes. And if you overdo things, you will really pay a huge
Mm-hmm.
price. It's more females than males. And so for the
Yeah.
longest time, it was viewed as
Mm-hmm.
a woman's issue, and
Yeah.
that we
Mm-hmm.
were over, oh God, we just need to learn how to deal with life. And, it's this emotional thing where we make
Yeah.
ourselves happy. It's like, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
what? So, it turns out that it's this hyperactivity
Yeah.
of the fibers, where they start, the pain thing starts sending messages like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And it's this autoimmune. I mean, we're starting to understand a lot of these are connected to some autoimmune stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow. And so now I'm curious. You've got me curious. With the first sort of signs and signals, you said fainting.
Yeah.
You said weakness. You were feeling episodes of weakness. Any cognitive things that your brain picked up on and you noticed?
Yes, I was forgetting lots of different things. Forgetting how to cook.
Oh,
I one
wow.
specific incident was one day I get into the bath. I was actually going out and I was really stressed. And I get into the bath and I'm sitting in the bath and I'm thinking, why is there no water? There's no water in the bath. And I could not figure out because the water was running. But
Wow.
my brain just would not click in for a few minutes until I hadn't put the plug in. And then how could I have done that?
Wow.
But wee things like that, my brain was just seeming to
So
shut
your
off.
prefrontal, so, just I'll do my little detail thing. So the
Yeah.
thinking part of your brain, the sensory part of your brain is going, wait a minute, I don't feel
Mm-hmm.
water on me, and I should.
Yeah.
And it asked the prefrontal, what's going on here? And your prefrontal went, hell, I don't know. I mean, you're right, it should be. Wonder why it's not working. And it usually would have been, oh my God, geez, what in the world? Where's
Yeah.
the plug? That wasn't what it was. It was truly whoa, how could I have not your brain came to awareness, and that awareness was like scary, because it's like, oh my Lord, how could I have not understood that I didn't put the plug? I understand skipping
Yeah.
a step, but how could I not have figured it out really quick?
Yeah, because you're sitting looking at it and I knew something was wrong,
And
but I just could not figure out what, and something so simple. And it
how
was
did your
just,
heart
how can
rate
I
do
not
in
figure
that moment?
this?
How was your
I don't
heart
know.
rate?
My brain was too busy trying to figure it out. Where's the water going?
Heck. And it wasn't scary until you really realized, in a second thought, how could I have not known that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
And then
after
with everything coming together, forgetting people's names, like even my children's names, I'd be going, what's his name again? What's her name? And, and then as well as that too, it wasn't even just the memory for me, it was the walking. I mean, I'd be walking 1 minute straight line like everybody else, and then all of a sudden I just walk out into the road or into the ditch, or
Ay,
you'd fall
ay.
over, or
Whoa.
and I think my biggest lesion is here
Yeah.
in my brain.
Yeah.
So it just
So do
seems
you
to be there was
veer,
lots of samples.
do you veer more to the left or to the right when you veer? Do you know?
Probably more to the right, actually. Is that because it's here?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, the other side compensates. It's working fine. This side is like letting you down a bit. So it's like,
Yeah.
so you're going to shift off to that side because
Yeah.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
but that may be more this is so tricky because you've got all these bits. But now this
Mm-hmm.
goes on you have a year with the MS and the atherosclerosis. happening,
Yeah.
is what you've been told. And maybe, did he say anything about a dementia or not really?
I was told it was vascular dementia.
Okay, so straight out vascular dementia there then.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then I spent the first year after diagnosis trying to figure out where to go to get help, what to do,
At
what all this
46,
entailed. And this was like 6 years ago,
I say
7
at
years ago.
46, how did that work? Because
Yeah.
I mean, that young onset is like beyond the pits, because then everybody's like, so what? You're trying to get out of work, or you just don't want to do something? Or,
Yeah.
I mean, that malingerer kind of phenomena that many, and then
Hmm.
the resources are just so hard to find with young onset.
Yeah, it was shocking years ago. There is some information now, but years
Yeah.
ago, it was shocking. I eventually did find a dementia working group and joined those. I got the letter from the doctor to say, because you always have to prove you've got dementia. So I got the letter from the doctor saying I got vascular
Let me
dementia
prove, let me prove
and
I've got
joined.
dementia.
Yeah, they won't let you join unless you prove, because some people, they just need the proof. So I joined them and done a lot of helping to raise awareness about dementia and so on. Our life started to come together again. I mean, Tiana and Evie, my two daughters, they went through a very hard time trying to cope with it all. I mean, there was times whenever my brain, I just get so dizzy that I couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't even move my eyes, because every time I moved my eyes, I felt like I was going to be sick.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was awful. And they were having to look after me. And Tiana was only 14 at the time, and Evie was 6.
Ouch. Oh my
So
gosh. Wow. Wow.
it was terrible. And she went through such a hard time with school, not believing everything and so on. But then we got, I don't know whether you have it over there or not. We have Bernardo's Children's Care Service here.
We do not, but tell me more about that. That's a
So
resource there. Yeah.
it is, it's amazing. They come in because we were getting into so much trouble with her missing school.
Mhm.
And they come in and they explain, took her out,
Yep.
give her wee days out, let her socialise with other children,
Yeah.
sorted out the school for us so we wouldn't, so that they understood what was going on in the home.
Yep.
And then they actually took Tiana. Evie was too young at the time, but they took Tiana and explained to her all about the illness and what to expect and how to deal with it. And I thought that was amazing that they would do that. And actually, our Bernardo's worker, since she's known me, has went away and done a lot of dementia training and so on, so
Super.
that she can keep up with everything. So the two organisations was a fantastic help in the long run.
Yeah. So you had to go find those yourself, though.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
nobody had a game plan for you when you got your diagnosis. You didn't get a game plan for, okay, so here's some options we probably better be thinking about. Wow, with your family structure, we'll want to work with the kids. We'll definitely want to make
Hmm.
sure that your role and how you're changing is taken into
Hmm.
consideration. So we figure out how we're going to help you, support you through this transitioning time.
Hmm.
Um, and we're wondering what kind of support you're going to be wanting and needing during this time. And, let's get some professional sort of stuff in here so we try to stabilize your situation
Yeah.
rather than, you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, no, there was nothing like that. I mean, even with any of the illnesses, even the multiple sclerosis, there was no follow up. There was nothing.
Wow.
Where do you go? And the funny thing is, a few weeks after I was diagnosed with the first two illnesses,
Yep.
my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer,
Oh,
terminal. So she was given like 6 weeks to live. If she had the operation, she would get longer. But whenever they did the operation, the tumour had grown round and they couldn't remove it. So she fought for 3 years before she passed away, until she just couldn't take the treatment anymore. But there was times that we became very close, because she was saying, I had Mary Carey coming out. I had everything done for me. I was showing where to go, what to do. And she was sitting and she started crying one day. And I says to her, Mummy, why are you crying? And because I was thinking that she's in an awful lot worse condition than I am. And she says, because you have had no help at all with any of these illnesses, and I'm not going to be here to help you. And my heart just broke for her. It really did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why
she
did
was
she
worried
last
about
3 years?
me.
She stayed 3 years because she didn't
Yeah.
want to give up mom.
Mm-hmm.
Moms don't leave their kids. It's
No, they do
really hard
not.
to do. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So the system also failed her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then the story doesn't end there though, because this is hard enough to watch and listen and realize, wow, 40, 46, 48, you're now like 48. Is that
No, 52 now.
52? Well, no, but I meant when you were just a couple years in.
Oh, yes.
Is that
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Think I'm
it
not
would be.
really that great at doing math backwards all the time, but so then what happened next? Because this is the sort of like and what? So then what happened?
Yes. Well, after joining the group and doing all the campaigning, all the
Becoming
awareness
very
and so on.
visible, becoming very
Yes.
prominent, becoming very vocal, doing a lot of
Mm-hmm.
advocacy and being very present.
Exactly.
Then what happened?
Yes. I was called back to neurology again and told that they had changed their mind, that I didn't actually have cerebral vascular atherosclerosis, that I had small chronic ischemia, which to me is
And so how did the
thing.
symptoms change?
They didn't.
Oh,
They
wait.
didn't at all.
They've renamed the thing you have, and they still don't have a way to keep it from progressing, or they think they
No.
do have a way to keep it from no.
No.
Huh. And so they're saying, well, there's not a whole bunch of all dead tissue, but there sure is ischemia, which means reduced flow.
Yeah.
It means dysfunctional brain tissue, and it means
Mhm.
it comes and it goes.
Yeah.
And it
Mhm.
comes and it goes, just like the symptoms of MS, just like the symptoms of the fibromyalgia.
Mhm.
And so it's a lot more variable. So that pronouncement that they made then told them that you no longer had cognitive changes?
No. Nothing changed whatsoever. I was still referred for more brain scans. I was still kept on the same medication, which is basically blood thinners, Simfast,
The
blood
strokes are
pressure
happening.
tablets, the usual things. The
Yeah.
only thing that changed was the name. And to me, I don't know, but the name, even though it's got two names, it still means the same thing to me.
It does. It for
Basically.
sure does. Functionally, it's the same thing. We still
Yeah.
don't have a way to stop it. We still don't have a
Mhm.
way to cure it. We still don't have a way to turn it around. We don't have a treatment that makes it go away. That's managing it not getting worse. So we bought you some time, maybe,
Mhm.
but we haven't really changed that you have something that has totally your life, and you're not getting those things back. I mean, it's not like suddenly your brain has cleared and so you
No.
never make mistakes now.
No,
It's
definitely
not like
not.
you could be trusted on your own for yourself to be able to run someone else's life or do things. I mean, that's not going to suddenly start happening.
No, it's not. And the worst thing about it is too that I came out of that room that day and thought, anybody else that was told that they don't have an illness would be dancing in the streets and cheering and partying and celebrating. And I came out thinking, but what's changed apart from the name? I've still got everything wrong. The only thing that changed for me was I wouldn't get the support anymore because a lot of the organizations that I was in were for dementia. And whenever you don't have the dementia, you don't get the support. So I had to start building my life again and making all new friends again. And it was awful. It was really awful.
But so I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around the whole thing, because it sounds like there's this black line on the paper, whereas if you have this, you have dementia. You have this. Well, no, you're not in that. And it's like, wait, how do you know that? I mean, what's your criteria for this thing happening or not happening, for my brain changing or not brain changing. I mean, why is there, where did you get this black line that you put there? Because my function, this is where I get so frustrated as a human being. It's like, dementia is essentially identified as a functional, my inability to live my life the way I used to live it, and with the value and the purpose and the way I did it. And that's what's happening. Because of these changes, I'm not quite able to do that. Now with support, I can do lots of things for a long time, but I can't not get this to progress. I mean, how am I supposed to do something that this won't ever change?
Exactly. It's shocking.
Wow. And so now you're being asked to step back from all this. And it's almost like, well, were you faking it? It's like, absolutely not. I mean, all of this is still absolutely accurate. And so how are you living your life now, Anne? So I'm curious, what are you doing now that feels good and still gives you that lift? Because
whenever I left, I didn't leave the dementia groups, but my life moved on. I stayed as a transcriber for Dementia Diaries, transcribing all those, and then they're put on the internet, which I really love doing.
Nice.
And then I took up writing. I used to work for Childline years ago as a counsellor, and we would always advise the children to write down all their problems and so on. So I started doing that. I don't know why I started doing it. I think it was just bored, lonely.
Something to do. I mean, it filled time. It made something happen.
Yeah, exactly. So I started doing that, and then I went on to write poetry. One of them poems was published. And then I went on to write a children's book about dementia. So because I just felt it's the whole way everything is set up, as you said, it's wrong. It's like, so you said there's a line, and if you have the dementia with a title, you can go, but so many people are not progressing into the dementia the way the experts think you should.
Right.
And then they're getting re-diagnosed.
I'm like,
and their whole lives is being ripped apart again.
And then we're forming factions, and it's like, wait, why is that helpful? It's inclusion. I mean, why are we feeling this need to you, not you, but not me, this and that? And it's like, some people's brains are changing faster than others.
Yes.
And some folks' brains are changing in ways that are pretty significant, and they may stabilize for a while. It doesn't mean it's not ever going to change again. As a matter of fact, the changes that have happened, I don't see them. It's not coming back. I mean, it's not. Are you feeling like you never make mistakes now about sequencing or being able to do things?
I make them all the time. Do you know, the only difference is that I've got so used to it now. I don't see it the same, but other people see it in me. But I've got so used to it now, and I don't let it bother me. Do you know, it's not.
You made that choice. That's a decision that you chose, because I've got to keep living, and I can't just keep laying the guilt on and laying the frustration on. I've got to come out from under that. I've got to break out of that and go, no, it is what it is. I can't make it what it isn't. But why is it these labels are so friggin' popular?
They're always, it's like the same as you have the dementia organizations, you have the groups for MCI, you have all these different groups for everything. And if you don't fit into one of them, you're just left out.
Yeah.
And then the thing about it is, like, whenever my diagnosis was changed, I've just had to rebuild my whole life again.
This is like blowing my mind, and I'm trying really hard to say, I know there must be value in doing that. I just can't quite figure out what it is. What are folks getting from that? I mean,
I don't know.
Did they think they were giving you some gift that you're just exactly how you were, except I'm going to change the name of what you have, because I don't think you're going to progress as fast as I thought you were going to. So I'm going to throw out another word. And the word is prognosis versus diagnosis. And what we have now we have some medical folks who are saying, well, I thought you would do this. And since you didn't do that, I don't think you, it's like, wait, but so you're telling me because I'm not going downhill fast enough and I'm not showing enough changes quick enough, now you're going to pluck me out of this and put me over here. And yet you didn't have any, you didn't have any doubt when you first saw mine. You even brought me in right away, click. It was so clear to you. And now that my function hasn't progressed the way you thought, my losses in ability haven't progressed the way you thought, you're now changing your mind. And you're changing my life, and you don't seem to have quite a clue of what you've just done. Just like the first time you didn't quite understand what kind of support I was going to need. You did it again.
And it's so upsetting because it's so big in your life. It's your whole life being took away from you again. And I would understand it if it was something, you know, that you couldn't really dispute.
Right.
You know, you can't dispute a brain scan with all the lesions all over.
Right.
I mean, it's a bit, to me, it's like my mother, as I said, becoming ill with the cancer. And she was given the 6 weeks or so.
Prognosis.
And she lived for 3 years. Yeah. But they didn't turn around and say, you don't have cancer.
No, they sure didn't. And they didn't turn around and say, well, we just don't understand why you're not dead. I mean, they might have, who knows? But, you know, that, you know, like, what is she staying here for? Well, she has a daughter. You guys sort of made it hard. But that idea of, why would you think it isn't? I mean, you could be in remission. The idea of remission with something like dementia, like we finally figured out with cancer, doesn't mean it's gone. Doesn't mean it's going to not going to pop back. But, you know, it's still there. It's just a time bomb. And you still feel the time bomb, don't you?
Yeah. And they don't take the diagnosis away
Nope.
from them or any other illness. It seems to be only dementia that they say, you haven't progressed down this path quickly enough for me. So I'm going to take the dementia diagnosis back again. And even after everything that I've been through, because I have both sets of lesions, I keep getting generally about 2 brain scans a year, which I'm very lucky getting that. But they haven't been able to say to me, whenever I says, does this mean I will get dementia in the future then? And I can't comment on that. So I don't know whether I'm going to hear those words in the future again. Well, I suspect I probably will.
I mean, why would you not? I mean, nothing's changed. I mean,
exactly.
Why would you not?
So I'm going to have to go through the whole process again later on. Wow. But at least this time I'll know what I'm doing.
At least, you'll have more awareness. So, and this has been sort of a remarkable conversation, a really painful conversation for me to participate in. I'm so sorry that's happened because it's not right. I mean, and I guess that's why I'm sorry is this shouldn't have happened. I mean, we should have a way of addressing this. Like we should be able to say, we think you probably still have the core of dementia, but as of right now, it looks like it's stabilized for a while. I don't think the symptoms that you have are going to resolve, but you might be able to stabilize your life for a bit. But I think we need to be prepared for dips in the future. But if you can keep things going like you're doing, I want to support you to stay where you are because it looks like you're doing a great job of managing this. So you've got dementia, but you're in remission.
Yes.
I mean, why could we not have language that is more acknowledging your life is never going back to what it was before you had the first thing?
No, you can't take the brain.
And it's due to the lesion. I mean, and those aren't changed. We just think, well, it's like you've had little bits of stroke and you've stabilized. And it's like, but tell me how you think that isn't going to progress. Maybe you're one of the folks we caught it just at the right moment of time. And so if this wasn't hanging over you, would you feel like you're in purgatory as much?
No, definitely not.
You'd at least know where you were going. So you could say, so I live my life the best I can where I'm at right now, because there's a high probability it's going to get worse. But for right now, I can learn to live well here because this is where I am. And so dementia with remission sounds like a reasonable statement to me.
Yeah, boy, I think it is. I think that they really do need to consider, like instead of telling people they haven't got it.
Yes, because we have
like you say, remission.
That's the thing. Vascular dementia, we knew it was the most probable to show the most probability for risk reduction for getting it, if we could do some things early on, but also to stabilize. And so you're an example of, looks like we did it. And instead of going, wow, we've stabilized, we need to keep careful track, because we can't get back what we lost so far, but it looks like we're pretty stable here.
Yeah.
But it's like a teeter-totter that, any teeter and it could totter. So, why would we say it's not? We just need to acknowledge, well, it's real stable right now. So we don't know how long, but I think it's still there. It's just, you've managed to figure out how to live with it.
So, because they never turn around and says, oh, sorry, your veins is back to normal again. The brain lesions have gone. You're grand, run on, It's so complicated.
And your brain hasn't figured out workarounds so that you don't have these things anymore. You still have the same things you've had before. It's just not progressing like they thought it would.
Exactly. Yeah. And even sure, look at vascular dementia. Whenever I first looked it up, it said that most people with vascular dementia live 5 years.
Yeah.
But there's loads of people live an awful lot longer than 5 years.
You wonder where they get those stats, because I've worked with, I have folks that I've worked with for 30 years. Truly and honestly, it's like, oh my gosh, she's still around. But if I look back to how she was 30 years ago and how she is now, she's not the same. But she didn't progress like somebody who had Alzheimer's or had Lewy body. And then I've had people that had vascular that within 3 months, they're not with us anymore because it happened so fast. But that idea that I don't know how long you've got, you don't know how that prognosis.
Exactly. But a lot of people seem to go by those charts and time frames and, and it's just heartbreaking. It really is.
Well, thank you, Anne, for stepping up, stepping forward, saying this stuff, because I'm with you, and we've got to get the word out, because it's harmful, not helpful. And it's time to start going, wait a minute. Where are we going with this?
Yeah, it definitely is, because I'm not the only one. There's been loads of people that have had it done on them, and their whole lives has changed over it again.
And it's and no more support than the first time.
No, nothing.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, everyone. And we'll talk again, because we have another conversation to have.
Thank you.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to help us spread Teepa's positive approach message around the world. And don't forget to click the bell to get notified when new videos are posted.